In the last session, we spoke about the timeline and its connection with layers. Now I'll tell you about these windows below the preview window. First of all, I drag one of these videos into this part to make a new composition, and I will be able to add videos into the layers part. I forgot to tell you about the shortcut last session. Here with B, you can specify the beginning of your work area and end for end. Let me shorten it a bit. Suppose you're done your work in this area, now you want to select the full area for rendering and exporting. Use Ctrl-Alt-B. Your work area is now back to its original state. So with B and N, we limit the work area. With Ctrl-Alt-B, like this, it will return to the previous form. This is the preview window. You can make it smaller or bigger with the mouse scroll. Its shortcut is Ctrl+. This one here. Preview is zooming. If I use Ctrl-, the preview is zoom out. There is a zoom percentage section down here. Suppose your video is too much zoom in or zoom out and you want it back to the fit mode. Instead of a mouse, you can do it with Shift and question mark. Now if we check, it's back to the fit mode. We have a full option like this in the composition section too. I press Ctrl-K. In the resolution part, we have full, half, third, quarter, and custom. We have it exactly with its shortcut here. It shows our animation resolution in After Effects as a preview. It has nothing to do with our final quality. I click on this person, I want to go on his face. If you remember, we use the hand tool or its shortcut H on the keyboard. Or at the time the selection tool is on, you can press the keyboard space and move the preview image. We see this person's face here. The third option is not good. The quarter is even worse. And the full one has normal quality. It means that when you press the space and play your video, you will see it with this quality in the preview. Here I imported a video, but in motion graphics the size of your file is too large, and because you also work with vector files, it will not be previewed so quickly. So since it takes time to load, we put it in half, or third, or quarter. This reduces its quality, but when we want to preview, it is done faster. Just to see if it works properly or not. This part, which is off by default, shows the final quality. When we put it on adaptive resolution, it also affects just the preview section. It doesn't influence the result of the work. I mean, the video we want to export will not have this bad quality. Its resolution is the same quality that you design with it, and you can render with that quality. To check how does my motion preview work, I'll put it on adaptive resolution. And due to the speed of my system, this preview process happens faster. If you don't like it, just put it on the off. About quality, which certainly affects speed, I select the full mode and the adaptive resolution. When I shake it, a post comes up saying it is adapting to its preview environment. That's why it might bring down its quality, which is just for preview. I put it on default selection. Before going to the next option, I'll give you a tip here. When you change the video's position and want to return it to its previous state, you can either hit Ctrl-Z or use the Ctrl-Alt-F keys to fit the page. Fit is mostly used when you add a video into the scene. I add this one. As you can see, it's smaller than my screen. To fit it to the composition, either you can use the selection tool and drag it wherever you want. I don't use any keys here, just the selection tool. Or if you want to maintain its length and width, hold down the Shift key to fit to the page. Its shortcut is Ctrl Alt F. Let me show you on the keyboard. I press Ctrl Z to return into the previous state. Then I hold Ctrl Alt F. This is how our image fits with the composition and size we created, which here is 1280 and 720. Well, we'll learn about this transform tool. You can change this one size and use Shift so that its aspect ratio doesn't change. If you don't use Shift, it will change. The next option is Toggle Transparency Grid. If you click on it now, nothing will happen. Its use is when presumably you are working on a motion and the background is black. In the composition setting here, you can choose the color of your background. Suppose you're working on a motion, you imported something, for example, a black pot. Because it is difficult to distinguish it from the background, we activate the toggle transparency option, and the background color becomes temporarily transparent. Now you are able to see the object you were importing, edit it, or do whatever you want. So this option temporarily transparent the background. The next one is Toggle Mask and Shape Path Visibility. It will temporarily hide the paths or masks you draw. For instance, I do this path with the Pen Tool option. If I disable this tool, this path will be hidden, and when I hit it, it activates. So you can hide all these shapes, path, or mask on your motion graphic by activating this tool. You will be familiar with the region of interest option in the following section when I'll explain the pre-compositions. Let's move on to the next option. This one is Title Action Save. When I activate it, it shows the center of projection. And when I disable it, it no longer shows. With anchor point, we can have exactly the midpoint of the motion. You can see the center right here. What is this for? What's its use? I have to say, when you rotate or zoom in or zoom out your project, changes are made around the midpoint. I want to change the size of this. I press Shift. We see it's getting smaller and bigger from the center. To change the center of projection, I use Anchor Point or Pan Behind tool. The shortcut is Y key. If you press Y, this option is selected. You can leave this point wherever you want. Whatever changes are made to it, whether you rotate it or make it smaller or large, it is done from the anchor point. If you want to put the anchor point on the angles, hold Ctrl. As you approach these points, a state of adhesion causes. And we do the same thing when we want to put it in the center. If you don't hold the Ctrl, it will not be positioned accurately. So Ctrl is very useful in moving anchor points. I put it here. I press V or I choose the selection tool option. When I shorten it, it will change from this point, not from the middle. The same thing is done in the rotation. I choose the rotation tool, which is next to the anchor point. When I rotate it like this, it moves from this point. Now what we use if we wanted to fit it to the page, Ctrl Alt F. It will back to its normal mode. I change the anchor point place and locate it in the middle. Now if I choose W or the rotation tool, you see it will rotate from the midpoint. The rotation has shortcuts too. They are positive and negative in the numpad. Let me activate the number pad. These keys rotate your image, no matter what shapes there are, whether it is a square, rectangle, or even your video. You can rotate it with these positive and negative keys. Hold the Shift if you want to spin more. I use shift and positive. It spins faster now. Without shift, it'll rotate smoother. To back to the normal form, again press Ctrl Alt F and it fits to the page. Well, you learn about these tools: selection tool, hand tool, rotation, and pan behind tool that moves the anchor point. In motion graphing, you'll understand later when you want to animate something. For example, you want to scale something from the bottom. Anchor point comes in handy. This title action safe option here creates a guideline for us. To remove it, use the apostrophe key, which is here. If you click on it again, it will appear. The next option activates the form of the grid for you, which again you can remove it with an apostrophe. This is the grid. You can activate or disable it with this shortcut, which is Ctrl with apostrophe. The last one is ruler. The shortcut is Ctrl R. Sometimes you want to add something in this exact place. Here the ruler is very practical. Ctrl R is both activate and deactivate the ruler. So you understand about these options. The next tool is for colors. Suppose you want to export a color spectrum to your composition. I choose this mode for instance. And with the adjust exposure, you'll be able to increase or decrease the amount of color, the amount of redness or greens. This one is blue too. I regulate whatever I want. So with this method, you can play with the color spectrum. Use this one to reset the exposure to return it to the normal form. I'd leave it on the RGB option. The next tool is the snapshot. Suppose you want to compare the color of this part with the color used here. For example, in terms of contrast. This is especially useful for those who work with the special effect. They are in the two different places. We want to know, is their light combination good? Does it show what we want? Do they have a contrast with each other? I take a screenshot from the scene with taking snapshot. Now here is another scene. When you tap the show a snapshot option, the screenshot we took will appear for a moment. You must hold this option to stay. Now you can compare them. Are the sky colors similar? If not, you can make the correction you want and change the color. In other words, sync them. This one's shortcut is F5 on the keyboard. Wherever I go, when I press F5, it will show me the scene snapshot. Easy peasy. Many, even those who teach After Effects, may confuse this snapshot option with a screenshot. Well, these are different. This is the compression of two frames. The last tool shows us the time in which CTI is located. Now we are in the second 19 and frame 16, shown here too. These do the same. You can use them both. Well, I told you about these items. Something else I wanted to tell you is shortcut. Suppose you're done with your animation. Now you want a preview of it, not in this small dimension. You can make it bigger. Use the key under the escape key on the keyboard. It's here. It's called the grave accent or the tilde. This will full screen every window you go to. Maybe because my key location is different, it doesn't work right now. But when you hold the tilde, every window you go to will be full screen. For example, I want to focus more on my timeline. I disable this item too. I have a big view of my timeline right now. I press the tilt key again back to the normal size. It's the same thing with the preview window, and you can zoom in or fade it to the page. So with the key below the escape, you can see window on full screen. And if there's a problem, fix it. This happens wherever you move your mouse. About taking a screenshot, because we talked about it, there is a choice in the composition menu which is Save Frame As. With it, you'll be able to share a frame of your motion graphic with others. Suppose you want to share this scene with your friends to ask them their opinion about colors or etc. Choose the frame you want to share, go to the composition menu, Save Frame As, and click on File. Here a window will appear, the render queue window. We will talk about its details later. By default, Photoshop is one of the options. Let me close this window. In the composition menu, Save Frame As, there is a Photoshop choice. You can save it as a PSD file. It is mostly used for special effects. For example, you have a mountain, you want to do matte painting and some extra special effects. With Photoshop, you can save this frame as a Photoshop layer and share it with your friends. I usually save them as JPG or PNG files. So I select File, Render Queue window opens. I click on the Photoshop tool. This one shows up. In the format part, I change the Photoshop sequence to the JPEG sequence. On the format option part, you can set the quality of the photo you want to export. I put it on the maximum quality and press OK. I confirm this one as well. Here's a change to the custom and JPEG sequence. You can save it as a template. So next time you want to do this, don't go this long way. Instead, choose the Make Template. Select a name. I name it JPEG. Now JPEG is selected. Next time you want to do this job, you select Save Frame As and Files, and instead of Photoshop, choose JPEG and export it. With this item, choose the place you want to save your photo. I save it with JPG format in the Picture section. I name it Motion Graphics. Then I click on Render. It is rendered. When I open the picture folder, we see that it has been exported. Now you can share this scene with anyone. Well, you learned about the timeline and these tools. I'll tell you about these items in future episodes. I hope you enjoyed this session.